Good afternoon, everybody. It's Jim. It's Matthew, and Matt, came right out of the gate today when we were a little pre-meeting where um, something was said. Was it this morning or recently?
I think it was yesterday on a
Okay,
show.
and it really got drier.
Yeah, it was Jim Bowden. I think he's Jim Bowden
Oh,
GM.
Bowden. They
Bowden.
pronounce it as Jim
So
Bowden.
Jim Bowden.
Yeah.
On Twitter, he was on a show. I can't remember what show it was. I think he appears on Foul Territory. That may have been where it is. Um, but he went on a show and he basically just kind of went on this. I don't know if it was a rant. Like it didn't have the tone of a rant, but where he was telling people of small market teams, he's like, if you're a fan of these small market teams, like no one's making you root for the hometown team. Like no one's forcing you to be a Pirates fan. So if you don't like it, just root for the Dodgers. And I'm paraphrasing there. I didn't get the whole quote in there because if I'm being honest, the whole quote itself, when it is verbatim from his mouth, sounds a whole lot worse than what I just put out.
Hmm.
It's such a short-sighted, narrow-minded thing that, well, you don't like the results, just give up on it. Like that messaging alone is messed up, but then really just the messaging of yeah, it doesn't matter how long you've rooted for a team or poured your emotion into a team, just give up on them because something better is going on. I mean, the thought process that he presented makes bandwagon sound like like hey, I get where they're coming from kind of people. Like it was insane. I think asinine might be the best word I could use to describe the take as a whole.
I mean, look, Jim. Jim hasn't been. I mean, Jim is a general manager. Has not had a good reputation of being someone who was a steward of the game. Uh,
Mhm.
he basically is always trying to, you know, call you and try to send somebody that he doesn't want anymore to your team for somebody that you definitely don't want to trade. It's
Mhm.
been his stock and trade. Let's put it this way, being honest, Jim Bowden is not a good, Bowden, excuse me, was not a good general manager. I mean, the facts bear that out. So most of the teams he's talking about employed him. I
Yeah.
didn't even more for the Pirates, but the point you're saying is if your local team isn't winning, then you should not root for them.
Yeah,
Well, most of the time, Jim Bowden's teams weren't winning.
I want to go back and I actually want to find his exact quote really quickly because I want to make sure that I nail this nail this quote correctly because I don't even think I did it justice, to be honest with you. Yeah, here we go. You can retire as a Pirates fan or trade yourself to the Dodgers. So it's just I don't know. I just don't get that way of thinking. That's honestly, you said Jim Bowden was a or Bowden was a GM for a lot of those teams, and that makes sense because they have losing cultures, and that is a loser mentality right there.
He did have one winning season as the general manager of the Cincinnati Reds in 1992.
Yeah, and I mean to be honest with you, the person that was doing the show with him,
Mhm.
they didn't do any favors. They didn't offer any pushback on that, and I mean, that is hands down one of the worst like mentalities I've ever heard, and I'm very
Right.
afraid that. Oh, all right. Um,
So I popped in to say hello. That's
yeah, and I don't want people to hear that. Like just a regular sports fan to hear that and like think that like yeah that's completely normal. That's fine. No, like that's not. I can tell you like from my own perspective, I was a 10-year-old boy when I
hmm
watched Georgia miss the SEC title victory and
hmm
most likely a national championship by about 4 yards because Aaron Murray had a pass tipped and it was caught short of the goal line as time ran out. Like that's something that happened. But I went through all of those losing experiences because the hope is that you go through these losing experiences and you invest yourself in these sports teams
Mhm.
You hear about them a lot, and you come out the other side, and eventually something good is going to happen. Like, yes, the spending isn't great in Pittsburgh right now. Yes, the spending isn't great in Oakland, or should I say Vegas or Sacramento or wherever the heck they are.
Right.
Like there's places where things aren't necessarily good right now. But guess what? The Cincinnati Reds aren't fantastic. They made the playoffs last year. Like these
Mhm.
things can happen, and especially if you're going to get a change in baseball's financial structure overall as well, then change may happen sooner rather than later. Don't like it. It's a horrible, horrible mindset to just give up on a team because you don't like what's happening at the time.
You know, one of the things that I've always marveled at. I mean, you've been a Red Sox fan, right?
Hmm.
You go. This is pre they won the World Series. All right, pre World Series. Chicago Cubs pre World Series. You could go to Wrigley Field on any given day, and that place was 70 to 80% full. You go to Fenway, it's even more. It's probably 80 to 90% full.
Hmm.
These fans were just they love baseball. Okay, they didn't get to World Series. They occasionally made playoffs, but they were baseball fans. They're fans of the Cubs and try or of the Red Sox and try to dissuade them. Forget about it. It's not going to happen. Win, lose, or draw, they're going to show up. And the same can be said for. I think this is one of the most fascinating numbers to me in all of baseball is the fact that usually in the top 3 or 4 in attendance at the season end, the Anaheim Angels.
Hello.
I'm back. It just we
Okay.
took a hit here.
All right.
So
Yeah.
I mean that's to me. I'm a little. I can't quite understand where that came from.
Yeah. I
Let
don't
me jump
know.
out real quick and you just do your thing and I'll be right back.
All right. Yeah. In terms of Bowden and just the overall process of it, it is as plain of a loser mentality that I've ever heard. It is a mentality that if things aren't going my way, I'm going to give up and I'm going to find something that's going a little better. There's no sense of weathering a storm. There's no sense of commitment that goes along with that train of thought. It's just it's just things aren't going my way. I don't like it. I'm going to give up now. It's loser. I it drives me up a wall. It's completely narrow-minded as well. Like, what happens if say Jim gets his wish and all these people stop complaining and they all go root for the Dodgers? What happens to Major League Baseball as a business and as a whole? It's terrible for the sport of baseball, that thinking as well. So I'm not sure you could pay me enough money to have Jim Bowden, in one of my favorite teams' clubhouse.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want him on my kids, like coaching my kids' little league basketball team, if
Mm-hmm.
I was a parent in that form, because this guy he just wants to lose. That's fine. It is what it is. Sports aren't for you if that's the way you're thinking, though.
I think baseball fans, and I'm gonna make a general statement here, which probably is not the right thing to do, but baseball fans just love the game. You know, they'll go out. I mean, personally, I enjoy just going out, getting a couple of hot dogs, get a bag of peanuts, and my large diet coke. Got my 2 pencils and my scorecard, and just sit there and keep score and watch the game. I mean, do I want my team to win? Of course, you'd be fool not to want to watch you
Hmm.
see your team win. But if they lose, you know what? I got entertained that day.
Hmm.
And the other thing is, in baseball, you never know what you're going to see. You can go and watch a game, and a sub 500 pitcher can throw a no hitter.
Hmm.
You there's all kinds of interesting things. I think the baseball fans and football fans are wired totally different.
Yeah.
I think that football fans, because there's only 8 home games basically. I'm counting preseason as well. that you get every year, um, versus 81 professional baseball games during the course of a year, that you know you you're in it for the long haul. If you're a baseball fan, you realize that there's going to be peaks and valleys the whole way through. Um, but they're your team, and I mean, I did for 2 years. I did Cleveland Indians baseball. I can assure you, they were not good, but
Hmm.
the place, they showed up. Fans showed up. They bought the merch. They had a parade for the team on opening day. They were beloved, and so right. Did they win? No, they didn't win. Hell, they barely, be lucky if they keep close to 500. That would have been amazing. Um, but Milwaukee, Minnesota, there are teams that throughout the country, Kansas City, where going to the ballpark on any given day, are you going to see as many people as you're going to see at Dodger Stadium or Yankee Stadium? Where probably not unless some of the top talent come to town. But at the
Hmm.
end of the day, I think we all want our teams to win. But the other part of it, and just as important a part, is that we support them.
Hmm. Yeah, like what? Think about the Seattle Mariners, and
Yeah.
and just how close they were this past year.
Hmm.
Now, I know they didn't make it, but if they had made it, think about what it would have been like for those fans. That didn't, they've been there the whole time. They've never made a World Series.
Hmm.
At some point, I have to believe that the Seattle Mariners will make a World Series, and honestly, potentially sometime very soon, based on the way that roster is constructed.
Hmm.
What would like? How would you feel if you're sitting over there rooting for another team? Maybe they didn't make it to the World Series this time. You're like, uh, what are you going to do? Go root for Seattle again when you've broadcast to anyone
Hmm.
around you that I've stopped watching Mariner baseball. I just can't stand it. They're not like the product that the Dodgers put out on the field. I it's I really it is just such an upsetting train of thought to put out there in the world, just because you're giving up. You're giving up and you're taking an easy way out, and it's it sucks. Like not everything's always going to be sunshine and rainbows when it comes to your sports team. The same way life is. Sports often imitate life as itself, and so you can't just give up the same way you don't just get to give up in life. It's the same
Hmm.
thing. Just because you don't like the way something's going in life, you don't get to give up and go a different route just because you feel like it. Like sometimes you just got to suck it up and power through. And similar with sports, sometimes things are not going to go your way and you get to complain and you get to be upset. But guess what? At some point, things will get better and you will bear the fruits of, I guess, your emotional investment in that team at some point in time. It may not be now, it may not be 5 years from now, it may not be 10 years from now, but at some point, that emotional investment will pay off.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think the key here too is that, do you really just enjoy it, right? I mean, that's what we're
Mhm.
here for, to be entertained. It's entertainment, and if it gets you, you had a bad day, right? You go out to the ballpark, you sit down, you enjoy the game. Maybe the team wins, maybe the team doesn't, but it's entertainment. It allows you to get away from whatever issues are causing you problems for the day, to just kind of sit back and go, I'm having some fun here. And I think that really, at the end of the day, is all you really want. And I think Jim misses the point of being a baseball fan.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I see David Sampson, who used to be with the Marlins. David comes on and he'll rag about teams not wanting to pay money, or any number of things. I think fans know that. I mean, you have to tell. You don't have to have somebody from out of town come in and tell you that you're not your owner's not spending the kind of money that they should spend. Um, you know it, okay? So
Mhm.
I know when I go into the ballpark, you know which team has got the better payroll and which team doesn't. but that doesn't stop me from going. And I think the other thing too, I mean, look at Detroit, right? Last year, nobody in baseball was picking Detroit to go as far as they did, and so they really had a phenomenal season. But there've been years that the Tigers have not had phenomenal seasons, yet their television ratings have been phenomenal. The Pirates TV ratings, the Rays TV ratings, all these people who quote unquote don't go to the game but watch them on television, watch them or listen to them on the radio, there's still support. That and the fact that, oh, by the way, Major League Baseball, you know, in most cities in the league, they haven't made it cheap to go.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there have been, some of these franchises have figured out ways to subsidize it where they'll have family nights and things like that so you can go to the game. But, it costs a lot of money to go to these games.
Mm-hmm.
And, am I going to spend that money to go to watch a team I don't like? Well, if the answer is, like I said, before I got whacked off there my camera went out. Anaheim's, as I said, in the top, 5 every year. They haven't made the playoffs in God knows how long.
Mm.
But people go down and watch the A's. I mean, the Angels. And, they enjoy their baseball there in Anaheim. Um, believe me, in that area of the country, literally they're across the parking lot from Disneyland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You can go spend your money in Disneyland if you wanted something, to do something.
Yeah.
But if you're an A's, Angels fan, that's one of the, it's you just hope against hope that maybe this year's going to be your year.
Yeah, and I mean, Major League Baseball, in reference to a sport like the NFL, even football,
Hmm.
where there's more limited events, so people are kind of able to game plan. Like you're able to game plan if you want to go to a game because there's only so many that you
Hmm.
can go to. Baseball's survival is rooted in these cities that these teams are placed.
Hmm.
Like they are reliant on hometown fandom in
Hmm.
order to really be able to put a product out there. So it the mentality that is would kill baseball as a sport from a
Hmm.
financial side. If everybody just gave up in these smaller markets and were like, yeah,
Hmm.
I'm only going to come see the Pirates when the Dodgers are in town. Or I'm only going to come see
Hmm.
the Pirates when the Yankees are in town. Obviously, they draw a bigger crowd. That is true. But there's a group of fans, like they have a base group of fans in these cities that will go and watch this team because they want to go watch the Pirates or because they
Hmm.
want to go watch the A's or something like that. And those are the fans that baseball is built on and has to be built on. It
Hmm.
really, in a sport that has been growing, is now facing a lockout, not this year, but in the coming year.
Hmm.
Um, and stuff like that is a dangerous thought process when you're going into a position where the state of baseball itself is going to become very vulnerable here in a couple of years.
Yeah, let's also look into the fact that, you know, baseball is a sport where there are there are casual fans. There are people who come. We talked about the Pirates. If you want to go to a beautiful stadium and watch a baseball game, you'd be hard pressed to go. I would say Oracle Park. Is it? Well, it used to be Pac Bell. I think they call it Oriole Park, where the San Francisco Giants play. PNC Park in Pittsburgh, lovely place to go. Camden Yard in Baltimore. Those three places are definitely bucket list destinations if you're a baseball fan because it's enjoyable to watch a game there. Now, obviously, we could have taken the Fenway Park and Wrigley Field and Dodger Stadium and thrown it in there, but more people go to those places and they don't necessarily hit PNC Park or they don't necessarily hit the others. And sometimes you just want to go out and see it. And okay, fine. You don't have to root for the team. You don't have to buy the merch. Just go out and enjoy the game.
Mhm.
for what it
Yeah.
is. I mean, when the season starts, there's 30 teams in Major League Baseball. 28 of them ain't gonna make the World Series.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing like college football. There's
Mhm.
136 or some odd FBS teams.
Right.
Only two make the national championship. 12 make the
Mhm.
playoffs.
Right.
There's exclusivity there. The same thing is there's only two teams in every championship game. There's a lot more than two teams in every sports league. So just because things say you haven't made it in 5 years, that you're not expected to make it in 5 years. We have these outstanding circumstances in some of these places. New England, the Dodgers now, Alabama football. Like there are
Mhm.
these out the Golden State Warriors, the Cavs while LeBron was there in that
Mhm.
second stint. Like there are these outstanding circumstances where you enjoy success that is not normal. Like this is not a normal level of success that you're like that should not be your expectation as a
Mhm.
sports fan. And just because you're not a fan of one of those teams doesn't make you any less than. In fact, it probably makes you it's probably a little bit better light on you as a person because you stuck it out with that team and you didn't just jump and go root for Alabama football or root for Duke basketball or root for the New
Mhm.
York Yankees or the Dodgers or the Warriors or something like
Mhm.
that. Like you didn't give up, and at some point that'll pay off. Maybe it already has paid off.
You know, it, just before putting a pin on this one, it's with baseball and what we have to deal with, right?
Mhm.
It's I think that people who are baseball fans get it, um, because year in and year out they go to see the games. You know, sure, there's going to be people. If Otani comes to town, you're going to want the Dodgers. You're going to want to go see the Dodgers. Okay, but that's been all the way going back to Ted Williams when Ted Williams played for the Red Sox, or Stan Musial played for and Willie Mays played in the National League. There have always been players from other teams you want to see, but on any given week, you're going to be able to watch, teams come in, and you get to pick who you want to see against your team. Um, the problem with the NFL and with college football, it's not a problem, but it's different. Why you can't do apples and oranges on this one is that you know in college you have maybe what, 6 home games?
Roughly, yeah,
Yeah,
depending on like
unless they go to a neutral site for something.
yeah.
So let's just say 6 for the sake of argument. And in the National Football League, you have pretty much 7 or 8. Okay,
Mhm.
like we talked about before, and they're all, you have days in between. That's baseball doesn't have that. Baseball, they if you start on Monday, usually they go Monday through Wednesday, then they travel on Thursday, then they hit the place for the weekend. So you're
Mhm.
getting, you don't have downtime in baseball.
Mhm.
You know, you don't have time to regroup and say, get ready for that, get psyched for it. Those are 8 tickets that you know, 8 games means 8 tickets.
Mhm.
And so each one of those becomes far more valuable because there's only 8 of them.
Yep.
And if you make the playoffs, okay, maybe you'll get lucky and get 2 or 3 more opportunities. But um, baseball, no, you don't have a week's worth of time to downtime to get psyched for the game.
Mhm.
Because what tonight, when tonight is over, then it's over. You just keep going. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I disagree with Jim, and I'm certainly glad he's not the general manager of any team I particularly want to go see.
Yeah, that's that. I mean, it's got a very legitimate argument for worst sports take of all time. I mean,
It's in there.
yeah, it's just the fact that he didn't get any pushback on it either initially on the show is ridiculous. It's just a horrible, horrible, horrible
It's
take.
definitely bad luck.
I I do have one thing that I'm curious on. 'Cause you talked about college football. You threw
Mhm.
that in there, and you said it has its problems right now. I do want to travel down to Gainesville, Florida, because it appears like we've got two like some are all saying one thing, and then the actions of the people that he hires is saying another thing.
Okay.
John Summerall left Tulane, and he made a donation to their NIL collective. I think he said that was prior to him taking the job at Florida, but he stayed true to his commitment, and he says that he's not going to recruit any guys off of his roster. Which is
Mm-hmm.
good, in theory, and is it being done in practice? I don't know. His offensive coordinator hire, however,
Mm-hmm.
seems to be taking a very opposite stance. As he left Georgia Tech, Buster Faulkner, the former offensive coordinator at Georgia Tech, has left, and he took the OC job at Florida. Yesterday, DJ Lagway entered the transfer portal
Mm-hmm.
for the University of Florida, former 5-star. Really the guy that everybody kind of thought was going to be the future down there.
Mm-hmm.
And then today, Georgia Tech backup quarterback, and really a guy that a lot of people at Georgia Tech liked, but it
Mm-hmm.
was more of a he just kind of had to wait his turn behind Haynes King
Yeah.
deal. And Aaron Philo entered the portal as well.
Mm-hmm.
So while John's sitting here talking about how he's doing it the right way and they're not going to poach players, Buster Faulkner's turning around and making him look like he's talking out of one side of his mouth and Buster's talking out of the other.
Have they signed any of those guys, or have they attempted to sign any of those guys?
So Philo is not he didn't jump in the portal and just immediately commit to Florida,
Mm-hmm.
but it's one of those deals where it's very much it appears the writing's on the wall here. Reading the tea leaves, this is where he's going to end up because he's a guy who's got it on film. He's a very good passer. Buster Faulkner liked him a lot, apparently. So he's Faulkner's pulling staff from Georgia Tech, and now he's apparently pulling players from Georgia Tech as well.
I I mean, I don't know what to say about what John is doing. Um, he hires his OC. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to I'm not going to defend him,
Mhm.
but we'll have to see how it works out. Um, I know that when John got to Gainesville, that two of the people that were the first people to sit down with him was Spurrier and Urban Meyer,
Mhm.
and ironically, Urban Meyer still has an office at the University of Florida, along with Steve Spurrier. And they basically sat down and said, "Look, we'll help you any way you want to be helped, and if
Mhm.
you don't want to be helped, well, we'll stay out of your way." But there's a really disturbing situation in college football these days, where coaches move and they take kids with them. I understand if you were if you're recruited by that guy and you like that coach, there you go.
Mhm.
Uh, I really dislike the situation where kids can opt out of the bowl games to either to sit in the transfer portal or to maybe miss the potential of being injured or whatever for the NFL. Basically, if you do that to me, you quit on your team. I mean, you're either a teammate or you're not. And if you're going to jump ship, before you play in the bowl game, um, again, maybe I'm too old school, but that just bothers me. It bothers me because you know you brought this team and you helped this team and you were on this team. You got them all the way down to the bowl game. Okay, maybe you didn't make the playoffs, made a bowl game, and and here they go, and they're going to play that bowl game, but you're not going to play in it because it doesn't work for you.
Mhm.
And I don't like that for coaches. I don't like it for players. And maybe if we have to move the calendar a different way, fine, move the calendar. But no, it's like when Kirby, went to and Georgia played Florida State. That was a massacre. You knew it was going to be a massacre before you could put 40 points on the board before you even kicked off.
Yeah.
There was no way FSU was going to hang with Georgia.
Yeah. It's a calendar that just has to change. And I forget who I heard talking about it the other day on X. and talked about moving the season up, the start of the season up,
Yeah.
to where you're able to end by the first of the year, like you're able to play your national championship on December 31st or New Year's Day, whatever
Hmm.
you may want. That way you're done before the second semester starts. And they said, and it's true, is when people talk about college athletics and in particular college football, it, no one wants to hear about the academic side of things. Like that's not what anybody thinks of. That's not what they talk about. It's just not in the forethought of people's brains when they're talking about college football. Um, but it's something that they still have to work around, and it's something that really has hindered this schedule that the NCAA has created throughout the college football season. And until they are able to address it and move things along with this college football schedule, like it starts in it starts there. Like there's a lot of things wrong with college football, but before we fix NIL and everything else like that, like that needs to get fixed. That's a little higher up. It's got to start with this calendar, and until we get that figured out, we're going to have people leave the sport at a higher clip. We're going to have people retire early. Like I mean, heck, I talked about me being a fan of Georgia. I remember the picture of Kirby Smart when he got there in 2016
Hmm.
um, during his first season. Man, you look at him now; it's been 10 years, but he looks like he's aged about 20 through it. Like
Probably has.
yeah, it's a the way the calendar goes. Like it's anxiety inducing, stress inducing.
Hmm.
It's just so much in such a tight window. It especially, and this is going to sound, I don't really know how it's going to come off. Some people may like it, some people may not. But it's a lot harder on you in college football if you're successful
Hmm.
than if you're not. Because if you're successful, then people want your players. If you're successful, then you're still playing football when all this stuff happens. If you're successful, then your coaches are getting hired away, and you've got to replace them in that window as well. So it's a lot harder on these higher tier programs, which I know nobody's going to want to feel sorry for, but it is the truth.
Well, I mean, in the old days, and we're talking, let's just say 5 years ago, right? 5 years ago, Nick Saban could have three five-star running backs. One of the five-star running backs wouldn't be even touch the field, for more than a couple of minutes in a game. That's not the case anymore. If you've got a five-star running back who isn't running or playing for you, you're going to end up seeing him in a transfer portal and he's going to go someplace else.
Mm-hmm.
Is it good for? I mean, is it good for the kid? Is it good for the institutions? No, but it's your point. It pushes your point, which is you have to recruit these guys 2 or 3 times.
Yeah,
The same people you recruited, you have to keep them there. And how
yeah,
do you retain them there you know if what they want is playing time and you've got a set you know a setup of people that you think, okay, this is my offense, this is my defense, and I just don't have a place for this kid yet.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
You
and
just
there's
mentioned about waiting your turn. Well, there's no waiting your turn anymore.
yeah,
You're either giving me the opportunity or I'm going somewhere.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, there are some places where kids will just go there, and when they're not playing year one, they transfer out right away.
Hmm.
You don't see it as much. Generally, you get about 2 years of like if they don't play year one
Hmm.
and they're really committed, they'll wait a year, and if they don't play that second year really either, that's really when you're going to start seeing the transfer
Hmm.
out. And I mean that's considered a pretty loyal kid now these days. So they have a problem in terms of this transfer portal and the commitment that these guys have. There's a word that has entered the vernacular of a lot of college football media people now.
Hmm.
It's the phrase roster retention.
Right.
That's not really a phrase that you use in the NFL. It's not a phrase that you have to use in the NBA or anywhere else. It's exclusive to college football, college basketball,
Hmm.
really any college sport that the transfer portal plays a major role in. That roster retention, and it's draining because not only are you recruiting these high schoolers, not only are you recruiting the transfer portal itself, you're re-recruiting your own roster.
Right.
If they haven't necessarily gotten the results that they wanted yet. And sometimes, even when they have gotten the results they've wanted, you still have to re-recruit your roster because somebody else may have came calling with an extra $500,000 for them next year.
Right. Now you mentioned about the athletic aspect, academics. I'm sorry, aspect of it. Um, I don't know that many fans sit back and think that the fact of, well, let's use University of Georgia for a minute, or Michigan, or any of the higher uh, tier programs. You got 80 scholarship kids. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
you probably have another 10 to 15 walk-ons.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at a close to 100, if not 800 players. Not every one of those 100 players is going to play professional football.
No.
So they actually are there, God forbid, to get to get a scholarship and use that scholarship to get a degree. And if you're running around, I mean, we're now looking at guys who are in the transfer portal, who have graduated and are getting their master's degree.
I'll give you the most the most outstanding example of this
Mm-hmm.
because he entered the portal yesterday. Georgia State quarterback TJ Finley entered the portal yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
He's currently applying for a seventh-year waiver with the NCAA. And if he were granted that waiver, he would be going to his seventh team in as many years playing college football. He was at, I'm trying to think of the stops off the top of my head. He's at Texas State, Western Kentucky, Auburn, LSU, I think Tulane for a short period, and then Georgia State. I think that's six off the top of my head. Um, but like, and if he gets granted this waiver, then he's going to number 7.
That's
It's
crazy.
insane. That I mean, 7 years. What are we doing?
He could actually become a doctor at that point,
Yeah, I mean,
or a
he's
lawyer.
pushing it.
It's crazy. I mean, it's you know, again, I hate to sound like the old man on the not on my yard situation, but it's to think that one kid can go and play at 7 different uh, teams. I can't. If I'm an NFL scout, I'm actually recruiting a 25-year-old kid.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and and another thing for these guys is they're viewed a lot differently when it comes draft time. The
Hmm.
longer they spend in college, like
Yeah.
age matters a lot to these NFL scouts,
Hmm.
uh, just in terms of where you're at in your development. Because I think, in all honesty, there are some places that get it like they do a really good job and they get relatively close. But as a whole, college football development and the coaching staff, not that they're bad. There's a lot of really good coaches, a lot of really good staffs across the country. But the NFL is a different level. Like it's a different level for a reason. And so those years, you know, if you're going into your 7th year, those extra 3 years that you're losing, those matter because those are 3 lost years of development at a higher level that
Hmm.
those scouts see.
Absolutely. Well, we will see how it plays out. I know that there's a bunch of quarterbacks and others, skilled players in the in the transfer portal. I also know that there's what 5 or 6 named guys who have not yet made known where they are. They're not playing. Some of them aren't playing in the bowl games, but some of them have decided that they're going to look into it and see what happens. So they haven't yet taken the plunge, but the toe has been dipped in the water. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But it's something we're going to have to keep an eye on to be sure.
Yeah.
Um, Before we get out of the college realm and into the pros, a couple things. One, as you can see scrolling below us, there is Zach Bobo Realty. If you have need for a home in Georgia or anywhere, frankly, in the southeast United States, our buddy Zach Bobo's your guy. He's got an outstanding real estate company. We've let the crawl go through here so that you can get all that information. Get his number. It's 770-876-2700. 90, and we would greatly appreciate Zach, you know, getting some business from you all. So if you got a house, need a house, no matter whether it's your first house or you're forever home. He's your boy. That's Zach Bobo Realty, and it's 770-876-2790. Thanks to Zach for being part of the team. So anyway, um, we've said a number of times that we didn't think Kenny Dillingham was going anywhere,
Mm-hmm.
but Arizona State's working on an extension,
Mm-hmm.
while Michigan is ready to throw tons of money at him. He's their number one target at the moment. Uh,
Okay. It,
you go ahead.
I was just gonna say the resources that Michigan, and what I will say as well is, like, I know Kalen DeBoer reaffirmed his commitment,
Hmm.
but you go back and watch that video, and they gave the quotes of, like, he was initially asked the question, "Will you be the
Hmm.
head coach of Alabama?"
Yeah, I
And
saw.
he went through this long spiel, and then he doubles back and answers both of them. He's like, "So to answer your guys' question, yes and yes to
Hmm.
both of them," which, it's going to make it made for a really nice quote
Yeah,
to see. But when I listen to a coach go rambling like that, it does not necessarily reaffirm to me that they will be there long term. Like,
right.
what it tells me is, I think there is a world where, if the right offer is presented under the right timing and circumstance, that Kalen DeBoer would consider other opportunities. Based on everything that I've seen, heard, saw reported,
Hmm.
he may not have been talking to anybody else, but somebody was. And
Well, the coaches don't talk to those people until it's close.
yeah,
I mean, that's their agents talk to them.
yeah. So his agents were poking around.
Hmm.
Um, So yeah, obviously he didn't say anything to anybody, which he can say, and it is a truth because
Hmm.
he wouldn't have had any conversations. But
Sure.
his agents most certainly have had conversations
Hmm.
surrounding it. So I wouldn't shut that one down entirely.
No.
Would I call it the expectation? No. It does seem like Kenny Dillingham right now is the most likely. I would
Hmm.
say Kenny Dillingham's probably one, and backup plan is probably Jed Fish, if I were
Yeah.
guessing,
Hmm.
um, just based on everything. So there's options. Kenny Dillingham, I I talked about it. I've talked about it before in terms of coaching staffs
Hmm.
and what can be the problem with this big splash hire when you go out and try to make it.
Yeah.
It's hard to replicate culture sometimes,
Sure.
and uh, we both love what Kenny Dillingham has done at ASU.
Hmm.
I'm not sure that what Kenny Dillingham has done at ASU is necessarily exclusive to Arizona State.
Hmm.
Uh, I think a lot of it has to do with his coaching ability, but I would also be remiss to not mention the fact that he is an alum at Arizona State. Like, he can
Sure.
sell Arizona State better than pretty much any other coach in the country. Like, he can build something there better than pretty much any other coach in the country. And could he go up there and sell Michigan the same way? He would have more resources, and that's fine. But at a certain point, if you're just doing something for the money because the offer is just that much better, then are you doing it for the right reasons? And will you be able to replicate the same success you had at a place that you had a lot of love for, when you're going to a place that, not that you obviously not that you dislike the place, but this isn't the place that you love. This doesn't necessarily feel like
Hmm.
home. But man, the offer was so good, I just couldn't say no.
Yeah. I mean, there's that possibility. The other possibility is that Kenny ends up getting a really sweetheart extension. Um, I honestly think, I mean, look, I believe that Kenny Dillingham can coach anywhere. Okay. Um, but Michigan's different. And I think that, to me, Fish or DeBoer makes more sense in Michigan than Dillingham does.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So I also kind of wonder how much, like, would Kenny Dillingham be looking at this the same way? And this is going to sound probably insane for me to say it. If Sam Levitt was going to be his quarterback next year,
Hmm.
does Kenny Dillingham look at it the same way that he maybe is looking at it right now? Or does he come back and he knows who he has at quarterback and Sam Levitt, and he's got the right financial commitments still from everybody at the university, and he believes that he has a chance to chase a championship next year at Arizona State. Does that change his thinking versus now Sam Levitt is in the portal and knowing that he will not be back at Arizona State next year, leaving a very large hole on that roster next year?
I don't know. I can tell you this, and again, you know, I've done many games at the University of Michigan. I love the people up there. They've been nothing but nice to me. Uh, Going to the big house and doing football games is a treat. Um, but I saw Rich Rodriguez at a dinner once, and we got to talking, and you know everything was off the record, and I don't think he's gonna be pissed if I mention this because he's mentioned it a couple of times, you know, in other places. But I asked him, I said, "Look, you're Rich. You had West Virginia was just rolling when you."
Mm-hmm.
I said, do you have any regrets at all about you've had a number of stops along the way? Any regrets? Regrets? He said, my biggest regret is I took the Michigan job.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I didn't realize how big that job was. I didn't realize how much in the way of resources they had. And he goes, and I didn't really, honestly, understand how important being involved in the Big Ten was.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I thought I could step in there and coach. He goes, it really isn't just coaching. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's coaching to beat the expectations.
Mm-hmm.
And so Rich didn't get stupid when he went to Michigan. He just couldn't pull it off.
Mm-hmm.
In hindsight, for a Kenny Dillingham, you know, um, who went to that, as a graduate of Arizona State, as you said earlier, we both like him.
Mm-hmm.
That's a legacy job. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
so if you run to get the money from Michigan, and you don't do, you know, as well at Michigan as you did at Arizona State, the expectations at Arizona State, and this is no slight against the people down in Phoenix and that's entire lovely Tempe, Arizona area. I mean, you cannot but help fall in love with that campus when you get down there. It's just great. It's a cool
Mm-hmm.
place. All right.
Yeah.
The expectations at Arizona State are not even within 200 miles of the expectations that they have in Michigan.
Yeah. I do think it's an important thing to put a caveat on it. Like it's not because of the expectations that Kenny Dillingham shouldn't go.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they like it is something that everybody notices when you look at the job.
Sure.
It's not necessarily the expectations. It's the expectations and how quickly things can go awry, or like the people up there can turn on you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not running from expectations. There's something to be said for finding a place that you can build something special at, putting your roots in the ground, and building that place into a winner. Not and not not that you're running from expectations, but man, wouldn't it be something to recalibrate the expectation at Arizona State? Recalibrate like Rich Rod did back when he was at West Virginia. For a while there,
Mm-hmm.
he recalibrated the expectation at West Virginia. Like he had that ability with what he was building. So if you are able to plant yourself and build a culture and build a system and build a program from the start, because I'm not sure if people remember where Arizona State was at prior to Kenny Dillingham.
Mm-hmm.
They had Herm Edwards, and boy, was that thing a plane crash and
Ugh,
a
that
oh my
was,
lord! I mean, you want to talk about rock bottom? That was
and,
that
and in fairness, and this is Herm's a good guy,
yeah.
and he's not a bad coach,
Hmm.
but he came over from the NFL and he didn't have a clue how college
Hmm.
sports work,
Yeah,
and you
and
can find that out real quick.
yeah, yeah, and in terms of where the program was at post Herm Edwards, it. it's about as low as you can go in terms of a
Mhm.
Power Four program without NCAA sanctions. Uh,
Right.
all things considered. And what Kenny Dillingham did was he went over there, he turned around, he proved he can be a winner. He made
Mhm.
a playoff with a team that was voted to be last in the Big 12.
Mhm.
Things didn't necessarily go their way this year, but they also didn't have Sam Levitt for half of the year.
Right.
Um, I mean, for the love of God, he was winning football games with Jeff Sims at quarterback. Jeff Sims has been like four different places, and no one has won with him playing quarterback. But Kenny Dillingham found a way.
Mhm.
So he's a great coach, but I really like what he's built at Arizona State. And I think what he's built at Arizona State has the chance to sustain in a long term capacity if they're willing to give him ample financial backing. When I say ample, I'm not talking like, you got to be up there with the big boys, but you got to give him enough to where he can field a competent roster and be competitive year in and year out. And if that can happen, then you have the ability to build something long term at Arizona State that, quite frankly, and there's if he did take the job and looking down the road, there would be no way. The only way you get this out of him is if you fed him true serum, probably. But winning at a high level at Arizona State would mean a lot more than winning probably two national championships at Michigan to him.
I'm going to
Building
throw a
something.
name out there of a guy who I can tell you from personal knowledge turned down at least a dozen high visibility jobs. And that's Kyle Whittingham at Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle spent 21 years at Utah. During those 21 years at Utah, he built that program into a very, very good football program. Now, we live in the East Coast, and not many people in the East Coast know what goes on at Utah. Hell, some of them can't even pick it on Utah up on a map. But Kyle Whittingham, had a number of Big Ten jobs. He had a number of Big 12 jobs. He even had a couple of SEC jobs, tossed in his general direction. And each time he said, thanks, but no thanks. I like what I'm doing. I like where I'm doing it. And so to his credit, he stayed. Uh, Kenny Dillingham, if that's what Kenny Dillingham could do, as I said, legacy wise, you know, who are the legacy coaches that we think of, right? You think of Bobby Bowden, you think of a Joe Paterno, you think of a John McCabe when he was with USC. I mean, you think of guys who, Bear Bryant at Alabama. You think of guys who spent decades at that, applying their craft at those schools. Um, I guess the closest to that now would be Nick. At Alabama. Was he there like 7 or 8 years? Maybe longer. I can't remember
Mm-hmm.
exactly. But and I don't see Kirby Smart going anywhere. He's going to be at Georgia for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I mean, these are legacy programs. So what do you want? You want to chase the money, and God knows what happens with regard to are you going to be able to create what you need to create? Just because you have the money and just because you have the um, resources doesn't mean you're going to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like I think Kyle Whittingham is a fantastic example of that
Mm-hmm.
because he found a place that he loved and he was able to build something there and they were able to be a sustainable winner over a long period of time. I mean, he made Rose Bowls. The last couple, I know he didn't win. I to be honest, off the top of my head, I can't remember if he has won a Rose Bowl at Utah. Um,
No, he
but
hasn't.
okay, but I think the success that he was able to create at Utah and the love that that university has for him as a whole, it's probably more valuable than had he gone and chased some money. Yeah, you'd be a little bit richer. Maybe you'd be in a house with an extra bedroom or two.
Yeah,
Um,
maybe at that beach house.
yeah, but there's always that chance that yeah, maybe it comes with that, but there's also no guarantees of success at the next stop.
Mm-hmm.
And you go from a guy who's able to sit back and have a career and a legacy at a university,
Mhm.
have an entire university that loves him, versus where if you go the other path and you don't succeed, yeah, you got that extra bedroom or two, but now everybody at X university hates you and you didn't succeed at the next university that you went to. So they're not massive fans of yours either. And at that point, you just look back and go, all right, was that extra bedroom worth the legacy that I could have had?
Let me throw one stat that to me might be the most impressive stat about Kyle Whittingham. In his 21 years at Utah, he had a 87% graduation rate. In when he was in the Pac-12, only Stanford had a larger group of people graduate from their football team than Kyle Whittingham had. So not only did he win, not only did he coach where he loved to coach, but he graduated kids. That
Mm-hmm.
combination of winning and graduation rate is unmatched. There's not anywhere that comes even close to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And again, what that's dedication to what you to the university. That's dedication to the kids. That you're not lying to them when you bring them on, on
Mm-hmm.
board, saying,
Yep.
look, you come here, I'm going to get you. You can play football and you're going to get a degree.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what was all. That was what he was all about. And I think you can't. That's a testament to what kind of guy he was. I
Yeah.
mean, it is, but was as a coach.
Yeah. Kyle Whittingham could confidently walk into a parent's household, make a promise to those parents about him taking care of their son, and then follow through on it and have statistics to back it up. And it's something that doesn't really, that quite honestly, doesn't translate to the way that college football is right now. But it's something that sustained him throughout his entire career and made him a, I think I could say this pretty a probable Hall of Fame head coach in college football.
Mm-hmm. Is my mic muted? I think I
No,
accidentally. No, okay. No, I
yeah,
mean that just goes to show you what a class act he is. Um, we've come pretty much to the end of the show here. Uh, we've got some stuff to talk about with the Steelers and the NFL and and some fun stuff for tomorrow. Any final thoughts here before we get out on a nice Tuesday afternoon?
oh man, off the top of my head, no. At this point, that I feel like the Jim Bowden thing really got me fired up
Yeah.
to start the day. I feel like I rambled on there for probably 10 minutes just repeating myself on it, but that frustrated me. My thoughts right now are really focused on it, and this is a more personal thing, but the Red Sox front office right now is making it, again, the off season's not over. There's still plenty of moves available, plenty of
Mm-hmm.
free agents, but the way they're thinking, like just based on what I can glean from everything, they don't hand out contracts to older players. They don't hand out long term contracts to older players. That seems to be messaging. Um, that's of the ownership because it's something that they've done throughout their time in Boston in terms of not handing out long term deals to older
Mm-hmm.
players or reluctance to. But it's very analytical, and they seem to be overvaluing their players, and it seems to be kind of killing some deals that may
Mm-hmm.
otherwise be on the table for the Red Sox. And so I'm a little bit frustrated with the current approach. It's good to be analytical. It maybe I know there's a handful of front offices that probably listen to Beyonce's "Who Runs the World" girls and just replaces girls with analytics, because they believe so steadfast in their analytics that it will deliver them a winner. And quite frankly, you need a little bit more than analytics when you're making a deal. They're good and they can help make a right decision, but they are not the end all be all and what makes a good deal, whether that be a trade or a free agent signing. There's a lot more that analytics can't always compute, and so I'm a little frustrated with the current model of the front office right now.
One quick note on Joel Sherman. We're going to go a little quick about baseball. You're talking about the Red Sox. Joel Sherman reported over the weekend that the New York Mets didn't even give Pete Alonso an offer.
Mm-hmm. They also refused to match the offers on the table for Edwin Diaz.
Mm-hmm.
They were okay with letting those guys walk.
They let two of the Mets' favorite, fans' favorites go. So
Yeah,
it's what you know, what you do. Okay.
yeah. They
All
let
right, guys,
portions of
we're gonna
the
be out of here, and we will be back tomorrow, same time, 3 o'clock. And we'll talk NFL. So get your NFL questions ready to go because we're getting ramped up for that. And of course, this weekend we're gonna get headed out on the college playoff situation finally gets underway. So
absolutely.
until then, all right, guys, see you tomorrow. For Matt, I'm Jim. Take care.